So the question is, how do you change this so that it's an offer, but it's still compelling to want to listen to this offer? And the way to do that is how you position it before you arrive at the offer.
If you take a look at what most amateur marketers do, most amateurs make the offer and try to build the value of the offer when they're making an offer. But if you take a look at what legendary marketers do that has mastered the art of mass closing, whether it's on webinars, on stages, you're going to realize that the close is not the close. And when they make the offer itself sounds like an experience. It sounds like the audience is still learning and discovering something new. And on this video, when you discover how to present this one ingredient, which is basically making your offer and turning as a teaching material, as an experience, what you're going to realize is that the retention while you're making the offer is going to be high. You see, what usually happens is whenever a marketer comes to offer and they say, okay, so with your permission, I'd love to be able to explain to you what my offer is. And this could be a done for you, this could be consulting, this could be a training, this could be a course, this could be a mastermind, whatever that thing might be. What most amateur marketers do is when they come to that offer, it sounds like, here's the offer, right? And that is when the audience is going to check out, because the audience resistance level is going to be all-time high, thinking, well, here comes the pitch. And if you can turn that around by turning it into content, by utilizing this languaging pattern that you're going to discover in this video, you're going to be able to see how you can turn that around so that there is a compelling reason for your audience to listen to the offer, because now it feels like they're still discovering something new. And today in this video, I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes to a recent coaching call that I did to show you exactly how you can be doing this now. Because once you do that, you'll be able to see the difference in your retention, and you'll have your entire audience still staying, hang on your every word, because they want to listen to what your offer is. Take notes.
Okay, wait, so I love this stats, okay? So first of all, let me just say 100 people, was it 100 people or 101? 101, okay. So 101 registered, okay? And how many people showed up?
39.
Okay, so just to put things into perspective, the 39% show up rate just based on ads alone is at scale almost impossible. Okay, so this is actually an amazing show up rate. Okay, so next person we have up is we have Esther. Esther, welcome. As you guys know, I believe in about 2 weeks ago, we talked about how Esther did her first ever webinar. She did about slightly over $3,000 in sales. So Esther, as always, some people might be new to this. They might not be on that call that day. Let's start off with who you serve and the results you help your audience generate.
I serve those people who wants to build better relationships, thriving relationship. So they could be dating, they could be married, they could be parents. So anything to do with relationship and marriage. I realized with this second webinar, I get my numbers clearer, because the first webinar, I depended a lot on organic. So I think I probably used up my organic leads. So this second time round, it's a lot on cold audiences that I ran ads to. So the turn-up rate wasn't that high. So that I had 101 registrants. So about 40 people turned up, and only 2 bought. So by the time I went into my offer, probably 10 people started leaving. So by the time I reached half of my offer, a few others left. So I'm not sure, should I tweak the content a little bit more in the front so that I get to my offer quicker? So this second webinar, I touched up my offer. I gave it more structure to the 5 steps that I'm going to teach them at the 3-day workshop.
And I don't know if you got these numbers offhand, but what were the difference between sending ads straight to the webinar versus to the checklist, where the checklist brought people to the webinar? What was the difference for you?
It was a huge difference. Initially, I didn't link the checklist to the webinar. So sending people to the webinar, my click-through rate and my conversion was low. Opt-in was only about less than 1% for all the ad that I spent. So with the opt-in funnel, the opt-in rate was 60%. And then 20% went to the webinar from the opt-in.
So whenever you have dropouts in your offer, right? So now what we're going to do is we are going to zoom in on how we can improve this offer if the dropout rate, if you feel that the stick or the retention isn't that great. And usually if the stick or the retention on the offer is not great, it is because the offer is presented and positioned as an offer. Walk us through like the build up to the pitch. I know that might be a little bit tough, but how did that sound like?
I used my story and inserted the 3 secrets. So the last secret was about how to get your partner to be on the same page as you. And with that, what are the possible frustrations that we have, that we face in our relationship in getting to that place? So with that, I showed them the trigger strategy on how to manage their triggers, to be in control and to be able to use it in all other relationships in their life, not just their personal relationships, but their business and the professional relationships. So with that, I asked, would that be okay if I share with you? So how many of you get triggered in your relationship all the time? I mean, I do. I get triggered every other day. And every time you get triggered, what happens? Try to think back in those moments when you are really triggered. What happens? Do you just lash it out? Would you say words that you would regret later on? Well, I did all those things, and I know those are the words that I shouldn't say it, but at that point of time, when you are so angry and frustrated, it is hard to control yourself. So that is why I want to be able to show you and walk you through a specific process where you can begin to master yourself, to begin to take control of what's within, to be able to put yourself in your partner's shoes, to have compassion and empathy, to understand how to build your relationship forward so that you are not stuck in that moment of frustration. So would that be okay if now that we've covered 3 secrets, would it be okay if I share with you the 5-step process that has worked for many couples that I've worked with, and I use it in my own marriage personally the last 16 years, and it has worked for me? Would it be okay if I share with you the 5-step process? So this is how it's going to be. Firstly, it's building that.
Okay, so pause 1 second. Okay, pause 1 second, okay? So this is crucial, guys. Whenever we transition to the offer and the thing that we're selling, whether it's an experience, whether it's a weekend, whether it's a physical product, a digital product, whether it's a course, whether it's a 1-year training, whether it's a mastermind, a very crucial piece before we move on to the offer is this, okay? So the question is, how do you change this so that it's an offer, but it's still compelling to want to listen to this offer? And the way to do that is how you position it before you arrive at the offer. And the way you're going to build up and lead to this offer would be this. It would be, so I realized that when it comes to really understanding and nurturing and fostering a healthy relationship, there are really 5 different elements to it. In fact, these same 5 elements are the elements that I utilize for myself in my marriage, together with the people that I coach. And I would love to be able to share with you what these 5 steps are. You see, I actually teach these 5 steps in events, but whether you choose to attend this event or not and work together with me after this webinar, I would love to be able to share with you how this 5-step process works so that you can decide if you want to work together with me or to be able to utilize this 5-step process yourself. Okay, now notice my choice of words, right? So now it's like, oh, okay, what have you done? You have given them the heads up that there is a pitch coming, right? Which is basically, because you have said, I have an event. It's the same event that I teach people the same 5-step process. But at the same time, what have you shown? What have you shown? You've shown that, hey, it's cool if you want to do this yourself, it's still going to work. So now what they've done is they have been given the choice that they can still learn what these 5 steps are, or they can go do it themselves, or work together with you if they want to accelerate and get faster results. So what does this mean? It means that for all of your products or your trainings or your events or your mastermind or your done for you, what you're going to do is, and this goes for all of you, right? How can I turn my offer into, could it be like a journey? Could it be an experience? Is it a specific process? Right? So notice how whenever I make any offers, my offer is always one of these few things, right? So it would be like, for example, let's take this offer, right? Legacy mentoring. So what do I say? I come from the angle of, so when it comes to building $1 million funnel and beyond, I realize that it comes back down to 4 main different stages. And in fact, these 4 stages is what I teach my mentoring clients. And I would love to be able to share with you what these 4 stages are, so that whether you decide to continue and work with me after this thing is over or do it yourself, this is the 4-step framework. Would it be okay with you if I shared with you how this 4-step framework works, so that you can decide if you want to do it yourself or accelerate and work together with me after this event? So notice how I position this offer as this thing that they're still going to learn before I ask for permission. Right? So now all I did was, rather than going straight into the offer, what was missing over here is like, I want to be able to get them to say, yes, please tell me how this 5-step thing works. Right? Get them to say it, rather than saying, I've got this upcoming thing, now they are the ones saying, yes, Esther, please tell me how, I'm super excited, yes. Right? So now you have their permission, and that's when you can go into the offer. Okay, so before we take a look at the offer, here's what I'd like you to do, Esther, and together with all of you here, okay? This part is important. Why? Because this is the lead into the offer that is going to determine if people are going to stick around. Okay, so remember, if you can do this well, so even before you teach the offer, think about, as part of your content, can I even have an open loop? So if we were to kind of link back to the previous hot seat with Tom earlier on, okay? If we were to make it into a journey, same thing here, right? So Tom, let's say you're showing your clients, and the purpose, one of the things I'm purposely doing is I'm utilizing a lot of different niches and topics so that you guys can start seeing how this applies to you, right? If this was a journey, what would you say? How do you frame this? It would be, so one of the things that I do is I help clients just like you to help acquire, retain, and ascend clients through Facebook groups. And I have a proprietary process that does this. And I would love to be able to show you how that process looks like, so that whether you decide to work with me personally after this call, or whether you want to do it yourself, these are the 7 steps every person has got to go through. Would it be okay with you if I shared with you how this would look like? Okay, so now when you go to the offer, it would be like, number 1, right? Rather than saying, okay, we'll come to that in a second, but rather than saying, number 1, the thing that I'm going to give you is, my onboarding client training. Okay, that's how most normal marketers represent, right? It as the offer, right? It's not an offer. In fact, it's a journey.
So when we see trigger, we always see it as negative. But what I want to be able to show you is how you can actually turn those negative triggers into positive triggers. That is what we'll be able to do together in my 5-step process that I'll be showing you later on in how we will go through those specific processes. So when it comes to building
pause 1 second. Okay, pause 1 second, right? So that's the open loop, right? Are you talking about your content?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So every time you have a positive, right, or a benefit or a result, okay, guys, remember this. Please write down these 2 words. Please write down trial close, right? Ask them a question that reinforces it so that they remember, right? So how do you ask a question where the answer is yes? Remember, the more often they can say yes throughout your entire event or webinar or training or presentation or pitch, the more likely they're going to say yes at the end. So this would be like, once you end that benefit or that sentence, it would be like, how many of you here would love to be able to discover how to make that happen consistently, right? So it's asking a question that follows up and summarizes everything that you do to get them to say yes, so that number 1, they remember, they retain that information, and they're more likely to say yes again when you bring it up towards the end.
Now that you've discovered all of these secrets, I would love to be able to walk you through a 5-step process so that you can accelerate these techniques, whatever that you've learned today. How many of you would like to have faster results in your relationship and to bypass and avoid those unnecessary conflicts, right? Type it in the chat. So I would love to be able to walk you through this 5-step process that I personally use, that it has worked for my marriage, it has worked for my work relationships, my business relationships, and it has worked for my family as well. I have 2 boys that I raise at home. And it's the same process I use for my clients that has seen tremendous results in their marriages. And I happen to be doing this live training in a month's time. So whether you decide to work together with me or you decide to go try it on your own with this 5-step process I'm about to share with you, would it be okay if I show you how it works? I don't want to assume, so type it in the chat and let me know in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Right. First of all, guys, Esther, this is amazing. Okay, like just by listening without writing it down, just practicing like that, this is amazing. I know that when you actually pen down your thoughts and write your script out, and you just practice, you'll have it down. Okay, so well done. Why do people leave? People leave when their mind goes, oh, here comes the pitch, right? Time to log off and watch Netflix, right? Because it feels like I've already extracted value from this thing and there's nothing else to learn. What you want to do is you want to position this thing. If you truly want to position this even better, you got to position this offer and the reveal of this offer as like the main thing when you are teaching. And that's why they can see that it's this journey and this experience. And yes, they can go do it themselves, they can figure it themselves, but now they can see why, if I did this event with you, everything would change.
So when I was 24, I didn't know any of that. So when I started getting arguments in my first year of marriage, it gotten so bad that I lost control. I lost control of my words, I lost control of my reactions, and I couldn't take back any of those hurtful words that I said and end up regretting it later. How many of you have been in those situations where you totally lost control? You just didn't know what to do in those moments. And that's why pillar number 4 is so important. And we'll be going through this whole process together to discover your alter ego and to know how to better manage that other person that's in you. And when you can do that, that is where you will stop lashing out on the people who are the closest and the dearest to you. How many of you would love to discover your alter ego? Yes?
Love it. Said perfectly.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the behind the scenes to this coaching call. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below what your biggest takeaway is. And as always, be sure to smash the like button. It does help the channel out a little bit. And to subscribe to this channel if you want to be notified of future videos just like this one. Now, some of you asking me, how can I be part of this process? How can I ask you questions? How can I have you coach me or mentor me? We want to make sure that we are working with the people that's the right fit. You'll need to fill up a form. There's a link right below this video. Somebody on my team might give you a call to interview you to see if they're right fit for each other. And if you want to apply and see if you're a good fit, then all you need to do is click on this link in the description box below and my team will be in touch with you.